Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked Intentions. So today we are reviewing Avataro Sentai DonBrothers, episode 9. Pretty sure either 8 or 9. I think 9. I made sure to record my review for this one first because what a doozy of an episode it was. Wow. So this was another one that did a multi-focus. It's a Kiji brother and Inu brother focus. The other team members are there and doing things, but it's mainly a dual focus on the two of them. So the main plot of it kicks in when the two of them actually meet. They haven't seen each other transform, but they finally meet again after the one episode where he was like keeping them hostage even though he didn't have a weapon. And they are going back and forth and talking about how they both have somebody they really care about. Clearly, Miho for Tsuyoshi, and Tsubasa has what's it called? Natsumi or whatever, right? And that we as the viewer know that they're somehow the same person. We don't know if it's twins or if it's like an altered memory thing or she's just two-timing them or what's going on. But they're talking about them, and they're like, oh, wow, they're pretty similar. Like, they're both really nice. They both love to cook. They're both very thoughtful, and blah, blah, blah. And so he actually invites, Kiji brother invites Inu brother over to his house. He says, oh, you should come over. Miho is such a great cook. And he's like, wow, Natsumi was too. He's like, great, you should come over and have some of Miho's cooking and, meet her and blah, blah, blah. And so he agrees to it. And at this time, Miho is at some kind of an event somewhere or something like that. And there's like this creepy artist guy. We see him in the beginning of the episode at the Don Bros Cafe. Haruka actually wants him to like, he's talking about wanting a model to draw. She wants him to draw her. And she keeps like basically ignoring her and looking for other people. He actually at one point was drawing Kaito Black or whatever. She tries to have him draw her, and he's basically like, nah, he just kind of leaves and like leaves her hanging. So, but he comes up again. He's the one that becomes a Sentai Oni for this week, which was based off of Kira Major this time, because of like sparkling and inspiration and all that stuff. So, a big jump start of the plot is that he ends up kidnapping Miho, and he wants her to be his muse or whatever. And so, while this is happening, of course, we get more with Inu brother and Kinji brother interacting with each other, talking about Miho and Natsumi. And it's funny because coincidentally at the house, there's a picture of Miho / Natsumi, whatever's going on there, turned around, like it's a photo of her from the back, like you see her hair and everything. She's like modeling or something. And there's another picture that is him and her when they got married, and he tries to show it to Inu brother. Inu brother conveniently says, oh no, that's okay, that's we're not that close yet, that's a very personal thing, blah blah blah. So it's kind of sad because Inu brother is starting to slowly warm up to at least Kiji brother and the team in general, but clearly has been kind of by himself so long that like he kind of struggles with like getting to know people. That's what's kind of cool with this group, is they're kind of a bit of social misfits. The group, like all of them kind of struggle with interaction with people. Clearly Momoitaro the most, but because clearly he's one of the brain persons. I'm pretty sure he's from the Naoto or Noto world or whatever it's called. And so it's really interesting to see them connect right here and kind of talk about things and kind of like, oh god, edge of your seat for the viewer, because it's like you guys are with the same person, allegedly, maybe, who knows, we don't really understand. So they're doing their thing, and eventually he realized that she's been gone really long, so he goes to try to find her. And we switch back to the point of view of her, and she's been clearly kidnapped by the creepy artist guy. And she tells him, oh, well, he's like, I'm going to be a great artist, you can't go, blah, 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 you'll be my muse, and I'll be this famous artist. She goes, well, if you're going to be famous, you want a distinctive look, right? And he's like, huh? She's like, I'm a beautician. I could cut your hair for you and make you have a distinctive look so people will remember you. And he's like, okay. And so he has this really long, gross hair, and he's even holding it at one point. It's kind of funny. So she goes over, and because she's a beautician, she cuts his hair, but she cuts a piece long enough to take it and wrap around his arms and basically tie him up behind his back. And she leaves. She like knocks him over and leaves. And Tsuyoshi is out trying to find her. So is Tsukasa as well, and Tsubasa, yeah. Inuzaka, Tsubasa, yeah. So they're both trying to find her in separate areas. At one point, she actually walks past Inu brother in the background, and he doesn't even know that she's behind him. It's kind of weird. She eventually finds Kiji brother, and she faints. And he looks up and he sees the guy that took her, and she says, "I was kidnapped, blah blah blah," and whatever. And she sees the guy chasing him, and he gets really angry. So he transforms after the guy, of course, becomes the Kira Major Sentai Oni thing, Hitotsuoki thing, whatever it's called. Um, and he transforms, and he's like going savage on him. He's going very rough on this guy for kidnapping his wife. And he's going at it, and the others get summoned to where they're at, and they fight the Anoni and stuff like that. We also get a little plot at one point where Sonoi and Don Momotaro meet up at like I think they're near each other at one point, and then like the fire breaks out in the building, and Sonoi actually goes in and helps. It's a really interesting scene. They both actually, away from each other, transform to like keep safe from the fire and fight, and not fight, I mean get to the people and save them. Of course they're untransformed, they get back to each other. But he mentions at one point after that how he says, well, we're pretty similar, blah blah blah. And again, giving more credence to the fact that I'm pretty sure Momotaro came from that world, and that's why he struggles so much with human interaction. Because look at the three brain persons; they all have like a certain aspect of humanity they were focusing on, but they don't really understand it or really anything about humanity, only to an extent. And so he discusses that with Momotaro a little bit about who he is and what he wants and everything. And he mentions that human life is actually quite dear to him, but that greed overtaking people bothers him and that he has to snuff it out. So again, it kind of paints them more as like anti-heroes than necessarily as villains. I'm not saying and condoning that it's okay to like murder people, because that's pretty much as far as you know what happens to people when they're the ones when they excuse me, when the brain persons are the ones to defeat the monster of the week. It seems as though they're gone, as opposed to with DonBrothers doing it brings them back to a normal human and then they're good. But an interesting little like back and forth here. Again, we get some nice little pairings in each episode, and that's all courtesy of Inoue, of Toshiki Inoue, and the way that he writes things. I mean, look at Jetman, Agito, stuff like that. I think Agito, pretty sure. But anyway, so we get back to Kiji Brother, and they're all summoned there, and they're fighting or whatever. And we get Don Momotaro like rushes through a bunch of Avataro changes, which next episode is going to deal with the ramifications of that. Just too many, it tires him out. And he becomes Geo Eagle. He becomes, I think, Tokyo Ichigo, so Red Tokyuger, and also I think Patran and Lupin Red as well. And he's fighting Sonoi the whole time. And of course the Sentai Oni is there as well. And so he readies his own finishing attack to send at the monster and stop it, turn it back to a human. And at that moment, this is where the shocking part comes in. Kiji Brother notices what he's about to do. He runs at Momotaro, bumps him as he does the attack, misses, and Sonoi comes in and as he's coming in to attack him, even Haruka's like, "Oh no, Kiji Brother, what'd you do? You know what happens when the brain persons are the one to," and the guy gets deleted by Sonoi. And that's how the episode ends right there, pretty much. Right after that, we get a small scene with him and Miho talking about how much he loves her and that he'll never let he would do anything to keep her safe and will be capable of doing he would keep her safe from anyone, be capable of doing anything. And he gets this like weird smile on his face, so it kind of gives a random like psychopath vibe to Kijino a little bit, Tsuyoshi. I don't 100% think he's necessarily an awful person. I think he's just so wildly, deeply devoted to his wife that he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep her safe. I don't think he's going to go on a killing spree necessarily, but it does kind of make it awkward as far as him and Inu Brother and their kind of, eventual rivalry once they figure out what's going on with Miho/Natsumi. Is it two separate people? Is it her with two different personalities? Which is weird because there's a grain of salt out there about the Sixth Ranger having a flipped like mode it can change into, and it flips personalities to do so. And then it might be female. So what if it was Natsumi/Miho? That'd be pretty crazy. But anyway, overall a really good episode. I was quite shocked by how it ended. I think that's definitely subverting expectations anyway, making Kiji Brother do something like that, because he's clearly the most innocent of everybody. And the least likely that you would suspect of being capable of that. And again, we don't know 100% that the people are dead. They say that they are, but they also go into this weird virtual space and whatever, so maybe they are somewhere. Who knows? All that I know is it's going to be things really, 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 really complicated once he eventually finds out that not only who Inu Brother is and Inu Brother finds out about him, like them, everybody knowing who they are. That's going to be one level of it. But the second level of it is, oh my god, how do you know Miho? Who's Miho? You mean Natsumi? And that whole back and forth. Very much so a Jetman, vibe a little bit as far as Guy and what's his name? Jetman Red and Kaori or whatever. Yeah. So definitely a vibe of that. I mean, clearly Miho Sasanatsumi isn't on the team necessarily per se. I mean, she could be if that grain of salt is true about a sixth ranger who's female and has a personality, switches modes between two different ranger modes. She could be. I'm assuming not, but I mean, she could. I would love there to be a sixth female, but I'm assuming that most likely they're not going to break barriers just yet, especially with how much trouble it was for one of the head writers of Revice to even get Sakura to be a character in it. He originally wrote Revice as having a main character, a main writer, female main writer, and was basically shot down, but then decided to clearly create Ikki and Daiji, but then also, Sakura is pretty well written. So anyway, that's writer aside. Overall score for the episode for DonBrothers, I would give it a straight 10 out of 10. I was quite shocked by how it ended, and I'm happy that every episode is definitely like subverting my expectations, yes, and also it's using the Sentai tropes in a way that we've not seen them used before, and it's kind of creating new ones too, and bringing back old style things and warping it to how, not warping it, but kind of melding it to like newer sensibilities and ways of writing. Because I mean, honestly, when's the last time we've really had like inter-team conflict where they're like, secretly have no clue that they're dating the same person? Like, none of that's really happened a long time in Sentai. So to see that kind of make its way back and such a show that's as interesting as DonBrothers has been, I'm really interested in seeing where it goes from here. But anyway, like I said, probably a straight 10 out of 10. Next week's done with Avataro. He is like basically exhausted from this fight from this week, transforming so much. And he gets his Don Robotaro form that becomes the mecha. We've finally seen Don Onitaijin. Look it up. It is a beautiful mecha suit, probably already in my top 5 mecha of all time. It's just a great design. Also, the links are up for like pre-ordering it through like Collectibles and stuff like that. So definitely do that if you are interested. Yeah, he's at least getting his. I'm thinking the others will get theirs as we go. Kind of like Kakuranger in a little bit, where they got their like mecha forms, sequentially from each other, not all at the same time. Some of their mecha forms, anyway. But yeah, so like I said, really good episode, really entertaining. I'm scared for what's going to happen with Kiji Brother and Inu Brother, but I'm also really interested. So hope you guys enjoyed the review today. What did you guys think of this week's episode of DonBrothers? Are you still team Kiji Brother? Are you team Inu Brother? Are you team what the hell happened to Kiji Brother? Why is he a psychopath? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. We just hit about 268 subscribers, almost 270, so that's crazy to me. Again, this is just a fun thing I do in my free time. I don't have any special editing prowess or tricks, clearly, and so it's just kind of a fun thing I do to get my thoughts out of my head about Toku stuff and not bother my wife and family so much about it. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed your time today. But as always, stay hooked on Henshin's. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.